So my number one priority, and it still is, is, was and is staffing and recruiting top talent. When I got there, I had a team of 8 and mighty folks, right? But I knew I could not do everything myself with just with those folks, and I needed to hire stats. Coinbase's employee growth was forecast to be really huge, and I needed to be able to keep up with that. So first, assessing the talent and figuring out what is needed was like my first number one priority. And hiring especially the trusted leads, both on the product council and commercial side, who I could delegate to and who could take over major, work streams and help build out the team. And I can't emphasize enough how absolutely important it is to have a really strong bench of leaders under you. So my goal is always to hire people who are better and smarter than me and who can take the lead on really complex initiatives. And again, for hypergrowth companies like Coinbase, you are going to be spending a lot of time recruiting. I don't know if this audience is familiar with that Glenn Ross, but I always felt in my head I always remember the always be closing, always be selling, right? So that's how I felt, especially early on, where I was constantly networking, interviewing, or trying to convince people to join. I probably spent 30-40% of my time those first few months hiring folks. And in smaller companies, it's not as you have to have the narrative in terms of what makes it compelling to join, right? I think for many lawyers, they get it for joining a big company like Google or Facebook or Apple or Amazon, like one of the FAANG companies. But going to a place that's a little more unknown and smaller, you definitely have to have that compelling narrative and opportunity. I think for me, it was easier pre-IPO. There's a lot of hype around Coinbase, and as one of the next big companies, and so that made it definitely my job a little easier. And by the way, if anyone here in this audience is interested in crypto and wants a job, feel free to ping me because I'm still hiring. But yeah, getting that narrative in place was important, and for my managers too, who are also actively hiring now. And so, as I said, for my team, I started with 8 last fall, and as of yesterday, we had 32 team members plus 4 contracts attorneys, and there's a few more people on the pipeline. So there was a lot of hiring of lawyers, which this audience knows is a complex endeavor. And I think by end of year, we'll probably be at least at 40, maybe maybe more than that. And so just some of the challenges with that, I think. Much more difficult remotely to hire quickly, right? It's hiring is always difficult, and especially if you're doing it very quickly, but then to add that extra challenge of trying to meet folks remotely. So I definitely relied a lot on my networks and my team networks to target candidates. And I think one really great thing that Coinbase has been doing in recruiting, and it's something that we actually have been doing even pre-COVID and pre-remote, is that Coinbase requires presentations for many roles, where the candidates need to give a 30-minute presentations on a topic, which really helps calibrate the person's qualifications and gives insight into presentation skills. So, I was a little, I didn't really know what to make of the presentations at first, but now I'm a huge fan of them, and think it's honestly the best part of recruiting here, and really important in a remote world.